Welcome to Tales of the Bard. Step into a world where stories come alive and imagination knows no bounds. Join me as I weave enchanting tales reminiscent of the bards of old, sharing legends, myths, and original stories that will transport you to distant lands and forgotten times. The tavern quiets as I step forward, my fingers resting lightly on the strings of my lute. The fire crackles, casting flickering shadows across the walls, and the patrons lean in, eager for a tale of dark and twisted magic. I strum a haunting chord, letting the sound linger in the air before I begin my tale. Listen well, friends, for tonight I shall tell you of the Hagborn, the cursed witches of the wilds. These are not the simple wandering spellcasters you may have heard about in old women's tales. No, the Hagborn are far more dangerous, far more malevolent. They walk this land with the very essence of corruption clinging to them like a dark shroud. Once, in the distant past, they were mortal women, gifted in the arts of magic. Perhaps too gifted. Their hunger for power led them to dark places, caverns where sunlight never touched, and forgotten altars where only the whispers of long-dead gods could be heard. It was in these shadowy places that they made their terrible pact. The first Hagborn, it is said, were once beautiful, with eyes as bright as the moon. But their hearts became blackened by greed and ambition. They desired power beyond measure, and so they bartered their souls with the ancient forces of decay. For a taste of eternal life and unimaginable magic, they sacrificed their humanity, and in return, they were reborn as creatures of malice, their flesh withered, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. Their beauty became twisted, their voices a symphony of torment, and the magic they wielded was tainted with death itself. Each Hagborn wields a weapon born of her own wickedness. Take, for example, the Sorrowbrew Cleaver, a monstrous, jagged blade rusted with the curses of 1,000 failed brews and enchanted with foul magics. In the hands of the Hagborn, it is not just a weapon, but an extension of their malevolence. A single strike can rot flesh and poison the blood, leaving the victim to suffer for days until death finally claims them. But it is not just the cleaver you must fear, I say, lowering my voice to a whisper, causing the patrons to lean in closer. For the Hagborn have the power to twist the very land around them. Wherever they walk, the ground withers, trees lose their leaves, and animals flee in terror. Their magic is drawn from the essence of decay. With but a gesture, they summon thorned vines from the ground, choking the life from their enemies. They can call forth storms of deathly fog that obscure sight and weaken even the strongest of warriors. And then, of course, there are the Lifebound Thralls, those twisted little creatures that scurry at their side, feeding off the very life energy of the Hagborn's enemies. These creatures are the embodiment of death's grip, constantly drawing power from the living to fuel their mistress's dark spells. But it is not just their magic that makes them dangerous. No, what truly makes the Hagborn feared are the whispers that follow them. They are master manipulators, corrupting the hearts of men and women alike, turning them against each other with promises of forbidden power and twisted immortality. Many a strong warrior has fallen, not by the blade of a Hagborn, but by the slow poisoning of their mind. The Hagborn rarely travel in numbers, for even they cannot tolerate the presence of another of their kind for long. But wherever one appears, know this, she brings with her ruin. Whole villages have fallen to their dark magic, cursed for eternity, the land left barren and lifeless. There are many stories of heroes who have tried to face the Hagborn in battle, only to find themselves outmatched by their cunning and cruelty. A sword strike means little to a creature who can turn your bones to dust with a word or snare you in brambles that drain your life with every breath. But do not think that they are invincible. Legends tell of a way to break their curse, though it is no easy task. To defeat a Hagborn, one must strike at the heart of their power, the dark pact that binds them to the forces of decay. Only by severing that link, by using light and life itself as weapons, can one hope to vanquish them. But be warned, friends, I say, my voice dropping to a hush, for if you seek to challenge a Hagborn, you do so at great peril. They are cunning, relentless, and hungry for power, and they will stop at nothing to claim the souls of the living. With that, I strum a final haunting note on my lute, letting it echo through the tavern as the patrons exchange nervous glances, the flickering firelight casting long shadows on their faces. And so, my friends, beware the whisper of the Hagborn, for where their magic walks, death is sure to follow. I bow my head, the flames of the hearth burning low, and the story hangs in the air like a dark omen. Gather round, friends, for tonight I shall tell you the tale of two souls bound by fate, a tale of battle, of blood, and of love, where the clang of swords and the whispers of a healer's touch shaped the destiny of Darian and Allera. In a time of war, when the skies were painted red with fire and the earth trembled under the boots of marching armies, there stood a man, Darian Stormrider, a soldier of valor, hardened by countless battles, a man who bore the weight of scars both on his skin and deep within his heart. But this tale begins not in the heat of battle, no, but in the quiet aftermath. After the siege of Blackthorn Keep, Darian, the once indomitable warrior, lay broken on the field of victory. His leg had been pierced by a foul blade, one laced with dark magic. The pain was unbearable, and his spirit hung by a thread as his fellow soldiers carried him to a nearby camp. They feared the worst, that their great leader might not survive the night. But fate, dear friends, had other plans, for within that very camp was a healer of uncommon skill, a woman with fire in her hair and life in her hands. Her name was Allera, a nurse of the wounded, known for her fierce devotion and the soft touch of her hands. She was no stranger to the horrors of war, yet there was a fire in her spirit that no battle could quench. When Allera first laid eyes on Darian, she did not see the hardened warrior that others revered. No, she saw the man beneath the armor, the one who bled and suffered like any other. And when she knelt beside him, her emerald green eyes meeting his, Darian felt something stir within him that he had long forgotten: hope. For days and nights she tended to his wound, using her skill to stave off the curse that had sunk into his flesh. Her hands moved with grace and her heart was steady and strong. She fought against the dark magic as fiercely as Darian had fought on the battlefield. "You are a stubborn man," Allera would say, her voice soft yet teasing, as she applied a fresh poultice to his wound. "But I think you've met your match in this curse." To which Darian, though weak, would give a faint smile and reply, "It'll take more than a curse to keep me from standing again." Each day that passed, they spoke more. It started with fleeting words of necessity, but soon it grew into shared stories, tales of battles fought, lives saved, and dreams long buried. Allera would sit beside Darian as the camp quieted and the moon hung heavy in the sky, sharing tales of her life before the war, her hopes of returning to the peaceful lands of her childhood, far from the chaos of battle. And Darian, who had known nothing but the sword for so long, found solace in her words. He began to see the world not just as a battlefield, but as a place worth fighting for, a place where love and peace might still be found. Days turned to weeks, and as Darian's strength slowly returned, so too did the bond between them grow. But the wound, cursed as it was, refused to heal completely. Allera, though skilled, could only do so much. The dark magic that lingered in Darian's leg was beyond even her abilities, yet she did not leave his side. "This wound may never fully heal," Allera told him one night, her voice soft but determined. "But that doesn't mean you must face it alone." Darian, silent for a long moment, finally spoke the words he had held in his heart since that first day she had tended to him. "I've faced death more times than I can count, Allera," he said, his voice rough but sincere. "But you make me want to live." And in that quiet moment, beneath the stars, they both knew that something far deeper than duty had taken root between them. From that day forward, they were bound, not just by the blood and sweat of battle, but by something far stronger. When the war finally ended, it was Allera who stood beside Darian as he traded his sword for the tools of a farmer. And it was Darian who carried her heart with him into the quiet life they built together. I pause, letting the last note of the lute fade away, my voice lowering as I conclude. And so it was, friends, that Darian Stormrider, the unbreakable warrior, found his greatest strength not in steel, but in the love of a healer. A love forged in the fires of war, yet stronger than any curse that sought to tear them apart. I bow my head, letting the story settle into the hearts of the listeners as the fire crackles softly in the hearth.